Yo, what's good? It's a 10A podcast here. We got a special guest in the building. First and foremost, let me introduce my co-host, Jesse Rican. Just introduce Iceman, John Scully. What's good, my brother?
Everything's good. How you guys?
Good. So yeah, man, Iceman. So those of you that don't know, Iceman John Scully. He's a world-renowned boxing trainer, former boxer. My first conversation with Iceman is back on the grind boxing days. I don't know if Iceman remembers that. So we're going back like 16 years. When I used to call in that podcast, and Iceman was always there, and Iceman, like, give us a little bit of your boxing background, but I just want to I remember hearing you like on ESPN Classics, going over the classic fights, re-announcing them, and you do these boxing reunions in Times Square where you bring a lot of boxers together, which is awesome. Like, you're great for the boxing community, and I remember, like, for me, like I thought that one of your biggest moments was when you were Chad Dawson's main trainer when he beat Bernard Hopkins,
Right.
and now you're currently training the Beast, Arthur Beterbiev, so you want to give us a little bit of your background, how you started and everything, and where you're at now?
All right. Well, just to clarify, like, Mark Ramsey is Arthur's head coach. He's his trainer. I'm assistant trainer with Arthur. But I started boxing. I started getting interested in boxing when I was a kid in the 70s. Muhammad Ali was big at the time. The 76 Olympics was going on. The Rocky movies were going on. Fights were on TV all the time. Muhammad Ali was champion. So I came up in the perfect era. I started boxing unofficially in 1980. I had my own boxing league in my neighborhood, and we called my hometown is Windsor, Connecticut, and so we called it the WBC, the Windsor Boxing Council, and I had 9-5. I was 9-0, and I'm still in touch with some of the guys I fought. This was like in 1980, but I originally officially started boxing in 1982, and I never stopped. I went through the amateur program. Then I turned professional. Then I was training amateurs all during my professional career. And then, I transitioned over to training professionals, and plus doing the other things that you mentioned that I do.
It's crazy. You said you came up in the 60s and stuff like that. And
70s,
boxing
70s.
was like the
70s.
main, 70s, I'm sorry. Boxing was the biggest sport almost at that time.
People that are fans today
Yeah.
need to understand what it was like then. When I was a kid, in between the ages of 10 and 18, say, I was watching every weekend on free television, on network. It was Channel 3, Channel 30, NBC, ABC, and CBS. You were watching Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran, Aaron Pryor, Larry Holmes. All of them were on free TV every single weekend. Alexis Arguello fought Ray Mancini on CBS in 1981, free TV. That fight would be pay-per-view today, at least HBO. Back then, it was free TV. So I got exposed to all these top fighters, and and it's a different era now. I think if I was a kid now, I wouldn't even find boxing. I wouldn't even know about it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point because boxing now, it's they don't have TV deals. The NFL has TV deals. The NBA, Major League Baseball. Boxing is kind of like on a independent type of movement, and they don't have as much support. So that makes a lot of sense.
Well, and here's the thing. Here's how you can tell. Here's when I'll give you two examples. Number one, back in the day when I was a kid, you could ask anyone who the heavyweight champion was, and everybody knew. Everybody knew Muhammad Ali was the champion, and they knew Larry Holmes was champion, and they knew Tyson was champion. I don't even know who's champion today. Like, some of these guys, they say, like, I'll read something where they say, oh, so-and-so is the WBA heavyweight champion. I'm like, what? Like, when did this happen? I didn't even know this guy existed. You know, guys, I was at the WBC convention like 12 years ago in Mexico. And they introduced this guy. I didn't remember his name, and I don't want to say anybody's name anyway, but I remember they said he's like the heavyweight champ, and I'm like, this is insane. I don't even know who this guy is. You know, back in the day, I knew who everybody was, and say middleweights today, and I'm a fan. I'm a fan of boxing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you if you held the gun to my head right now and said name 3 middleweights right now. I could not do it, but you know what I can do? I can tell you, in 1985, Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran, Marvin Hagler, Mustafa Hamsho, Juan Domingo Roldan, they were all middleweight. Curtis Parker, you know what I mean? James Schuler. I could name all of them. I could name 30 of them. Today, I can't even name 1 or 2.
No, it makes a lot of sense. Even the guy that I think at the IBF at middleweight right now, I think his name is Skull, if I'm not mistaken. Is it Skull? What's his name? You know what I'm talking about, Jess. Well, he's the one that after Canelo vacated the belt, he became the mandatory. I think it's Skull. I'm not 100% sure. But no, you're right. I mean, and it hurts boxers in regards to, especially their pockets, because they're not frequently seen on network TV. There's no base like basketball players, NFL players. That's where they get paid off of TV deals, you know.
And not just that, they're not fighting. Nobody's fighting. You don't. You know, back in the day, you saw guys, a middleweight contender. He's ranked number 7. He's a good fighter. He's decent. He's not world champion, but he's a good fighter. He's fighting 7 times a year. He's fighting in his hometown at least twice. They don't have that anymore. I mean, we used to have shows when I was a kid. They had shows in Hartford, Connecticut, all the time. Now, they haven't had a show in Hartford. I think maybe in the last 20 years, maybe 2, maybe 1. I know for sure, maybe 2. They don't do shows. They don't do when you remember, like, I don't know if you're old enough, but like Vinny Pazienza. When Vinny Pazienza was coming up, right? He started drawing such crowds. He drew. This is a famous story in New England. He drew 16,000 people for a 10-round fight to the Providence Civic Center in a blizzard.
Wow.
Okay. 16,000 people. It was a blizzard. It was not for the World 10. He drew those fans. Nobody's doing that today. They aren't building. There's no such thing as, you know, back in the day, they put posters up in stores, a fight poster. You know, the drugstore had it. The convenience store had it. They put them. I used to put them when my fights. I used to put them on the bus stops. I would go to Hartford and put the poster in the bus stop. So everybody who got on the bus, thousands of people over the course of months, everybody saw my poster. I put them everywhere. I haven't seen a fight poster, a physical fight poster. I haven't seen a poster in 20 years.
Well, you know, speaking of, like, you know, big fights and everything, right? You know, we got the biggest fight for boxing fans coming up, you know, and you're going to be there. I know you guys are leaving soon. I think the real boxing fans, like, are calling this the fight of the year, you know, like, and it's Beterbiev versus Bivol. And, you know, I never seen, like, everybody's calling it 50-50. I went back and forth on it. You know, ultimately I come down to Beterbiev stopping him, because I just can't see Beterbiev stop attacking. Like he's a monster. What stands out to Beterbiev for you? Like what's so special about him, you know?
I always say, I think mentality. You know, mentality drives everything. He's fearless. He doesn't fear anyone. He would fight anyone on earth. Like anyone. Sometimes you'll see fans that are like, oh, so and so scared. I mean, believe me, if a fight doesn't happen with Arthur, it's not because he was scared of anybody. Like it's kind of funny, but he's not a boxing fan. He's not scared of people. Partially probably because he doesn't know anybody. Like he doesn't watch boxing. He doesn't know, you know, he knows Bivol because they're both Russian and they sparred once years ago. But, you know, Joe Smith and guys like that he fought, he didn't know who they were until he found out he was fighting them. You know, so he's not afraid. He doesn't care. But you know, his mentality, like just I always tell a story, quick story. This is all encompassing. If you want an answer to the question, here's the answer. He fights Joe Smith on Saturday, unifies the titles, goes home on Sunday. Monday morning, 7 o'clock, he's in the gym beating the tire on the wall with sledgehammers. I have it on video. I have it on my phone. He's beating at 6. It was 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So that means he had to get up at 6:15 to get ready to go over to the gym to do this. He's beating the tires, and I don't know if you know what that means, but it's a very difficult exercise. Why he was doing that at 7? So I asked him a couple months later when I saw him. I said, "Man, so it's like 2 days after the fight. Why were you there at the gym?" And he looked at it, he's like, "Well, that's what I do. Like I train. Like the idea that he wouldn't do that was foreign to him. He didn't understand why I thought it was unusual. That 100%.
I mean, the world is looking forward to this fight, and I know if I'm not sure, what is it? Turkey Ali made it happen, correct? If I'm not mistaken. Hello, you hear me?
Right, I believe, yeah, he's the one that okayed it or whatever, how it goes.
Yeah, already financed or whatever, but his impact and him trying to make these big fights is one of the reasons that it's
Yeah, I hear you now. Yeah.
Oh, you hear me now? Bivol, I like Bivol a lot. He's stopped all his opponents. Bivol is he's undefeated.
Beterbiev.
I'm sorry. What problems does Bivol pose for Beterbiev? And do you feel like he can get a stoppage in that fight?
I think Bivol is very smart. But, let me just preface it like saying like this. We're all accustomed to Adrian Broner. We're accustomed to people before the fights. They spend 2 months telling you how horrible the other guy is, right? This guy's terrible. I'm fighting. I'm going to, he's this, he's that. It's stupid. It's really stupid. Like if you beat the guy, why would you get praise for beating a guy you just spent 2 months telling us was horrible? You know what I mean? It's unrealistic. Bivol is excellent. He's a master boxer. He's very skilled. He puts combinations together. He's very smart. He's all that. Arthur is too. Each guy has a plan they have to implement. It would be like Joe Frazier against Muhammad Ali. It doesn't take a genius to tell you what each guy would need to do to win that fight, right? And the first fight, they really counted. Joe did his thing. He negated Ali's advantages. That's in fights like this. That's what it comes down to. Who's going to do that?
What do you feel like are Beterbiev's advantages over Bivol?
I think he's much stronger. I mean, clearly much stronger, much bigger. There was a point not long ago when Bivol was saying and talking about possibly moving down to 168. Yeah, he feels it's within reach. That's not Arthur. Arthur could never in a million years go down. As an amateur, Arthur fought 201 in the World Championships and was beating people, good people. So he's much bigger. He's obviously much stronger. That's not a debate. He's much stronger. His power is off the charts. I talked to all the guys for the last 8 years who spar with Arthur, and that's it. So we have decided physical advantages that no amount of training on Bivol's part. Like I saw a thing the other day where he was doing. It's almost like he was trying to imitate Arthur. Like they showed this video of him doing these impressive strength exercises like Arthur would do. And I'm saying, listen, in this regard, it would be like doing a video to show how fast you are when you're fighting Roy Jones in a couple weeks. You're not faster than Roy Jones. So whatever you show me is not going to be as impressive as if Roy showed it to me. If Bivol thinks he's going to match strength, I think he's mistaken. I think that's a big issue. That's a big problem for him.
When I seen him fight Canelo Bivol, he wasn't as aggressive as he was in fights after that. And what I mean by that is in his other fights he attacked. He was a little in the beginning of the fight. He respected Canelo's power, and clearly Beterbiev is a lot stronger than Canelo. The difference is Canelo kind of gassed. He took over the fight. Will he? And he was very hesitant. He was taking a lot of shots to the arms. He wasn't as active. Do you think Beterbiev does that and more because of how hesitant? He respected Canelo. He has to respect Beterbiev. Do you feel like he's going to come up with that same type of approach?
Right.
Try to
I mean,
gas him?
you know what? Even if boxing is the ultimate truth teller, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can go into a fight for 8 weeks. You can train. Like he could, hypothetically, he could say, you know what? I'm gonna go right to Arthur. I'm gonna mix it up with him. I'm gonna show him that I'm strong too.
Yeah.
And he could do that for 8 weeks, preparing for this moment. And as soon as he gets in there and he feels that power, all that goes out the window. You know what I mean? Like, you got to come back to reality. And like I say, with Ali and Frazier, sometimes there's no mystery. There's certain things you can't do against a certain guy that you could do with a million other guys.
Mm-hmm.
Arthur's not that guy. You're not going to match strength with him. You're not going to match power with him. You'd be foolish to try and go that route. I know he may do it thinking he'll do it like as a, maybe a kamikaze ambush, like, oh, let's do something they would never expect us to do. But Arthur would obviously welcome that. So I think he knows not to do that.
Is there any truth to the winner of this fight? Benavidez is next, or is that just all talk right now?
To be honest, I haven't heard that. I'll tell you one thing. In 8 years with Arthur, I've never ever heard anyone in the gym talk about any fight other than the one we had coming up. It's never been discussed. Oh man, Arthur, if you win this one, you're gonna fight this guy. Like, it's never, not once has it ever been discussed, ever.
Well, John, a lot of people are motivated by money, right? And everybody knows who the cash cow is. And he was talking about fighting if Bivol gets past Beterbiev, Canelo fighting him. If Beterbiev were to go out and beat Bivol, would that be on the table? Do you think Canelo would actually go up to 175 to fight a much stronger Beterbiev?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And it's not insulting to him at all. Like, I don't blame him in any way, because when he moved up to light heavy, you got to remember, he moved up twice. He fought Bivol, and now everybody's really high on Bivol, and I get that. At the time, everybody thought Canelo was going to beat Bivol. People forget that. They all thought, everybody on earth thought he was going to win that fight. That was an upset. When he fought Kovalev, people said, oh, he beat Kovalev. I said, listen, don't forget, he had a contract clause where Kovalev couldn't gain. I think he was restricted to no more than 10 pounds after the weigh. Now, that's insane. Like, if you tell a guy who's been training, the thing that one of the major factors that prepares a fighter is he trains all these weeks. He's miserable. He hates life. But he knows as soon as the weigh-in's over, I'm going to get to replenish myself and I'm going to feel like $1 million. The guy never got the chance to do that. So Canelo is a businessman in that regard. Yeah. So that's a very hollow win. He obviously avoided Arthur. Like, no question. And like I say, I'm not insulting him because I don't blame him. He's not big enough or strong enough to fight Arthur.
So let's say he was. Would Arthur be willing to take something like that where there was a hydration clause? Because, I mean, let's be real. Canelo brings in that type of money. He's not motivated by money like that.
Right. I don't think Arthur would do that. No, I don't think he would compromise himself. He's all about, being prepared. Like I told you, he was training a day, 2 days after he fought Joe Smith. He was already up in the gym. He's all about being prepared and things like that. I don't think, and if he asked me my advice, which he probably wouldn't, but if he did, I would say I wouldn't do it. That's crazy because if you lose under those circumstances, like I guarantee you, people listening to this, a great amount of people who are listening to this didn't know that Kovalev had that weight clause.
I didn't know
for the fight. Right? They had no idea. Well, there you go. You didn't know, right? So all people are going to remember is the victory. They're not going to know. Remember, people forget, and this too. Like when Sugar Ray Leonard fought Donnie Lalonde for the light heavyweight title, it was also for the super middleweight title. They made Donnie get down to 168 for the fight. So Donnie was light heavyweight champion. He had to get down to 168 for the fight. and they made the winner, which was Ray. He won 2 titles. He won the super middleweight and the light heavyweight titles in that fight. I mean, Ray's my friend, and Donnie is too, but that's insane. That's insane. But that's what people have to do to get the biggest payday of their career sometimes.
I got a question. My buddy Eric Moon, he fights at 168 pounds. He said he went to Russia to fight one of the Russian fighters, and he stated he knows now why a lot of the American fighters avoid the Russian fighters. It's a different ball game. Is there a difference between the way the Russian fighters train or fight as opposed to the Americans? And is that statement accurate? Because that's what he said.
I think it's a different, and I've said this many times over the years, I think it's a different mentality that they bring. Like I was saying about Arthur, they're not motivated by money, jewelry, Lamborghinis, that type of stuff doesn't motivate. And I always remember, I'll give you an example. This is an all-encompassing, and this is what they're facing. Yeah. Years ago, and I forget who it was, because if you remember, there was a bunch of Russian heavyweight champions at one time. There was Chagayev and Bragomov and these different guys. And one of them was fighting an American. I forget who, but they were fighting an American. And I remember the American went first, and he spent 10 minutes talking about how he's from the hood, and this is how we grew up, and we grew up tough, and blah 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 blah, right? And everybody's, oh yeah, he's a rough guy, And the Russian guy got up, and he's like, he wasn't being funny or anything. He's just like, I grew up very poor too, and let me say, Russian ghettos and American ghettos are like comparable from Compton to Beverly Hills. Like your ghettos are like Beverly Hills compared to us. Like we have you live in a ghetto and you still have a car and you have a TV. We live in ghettos. We have nothing. We're hoping we get food. And by that, another guy I met from Croatia. He actually came here to spar with Arthur, and we were having a discussion, and I mentioned welfare to him. I don't know why it came up in conversation, but he goes, welfare. I thought all countries had welfare. I didn't know. And he said, I'm like, I mentioned welfare, and he goes, oh, what is welfare? I go, like when the government gives you money if you're struggling. And he goes, and he's like, no. We don't have that in our country. I said, he goes, if we need food, if we're out of food, he gave me 3 choices. He said, we either get it from a family member, we steal it from someone, or we kill someone. And I'm looking at him like, and he said it like, oh, that's just what we do. And I'm like, kill someone. I'm like, what? and I'll give another, the mentality, right? And believe me, this was his mentality in the ring as well. But he mentioned that one of the guys in the gym, he didn't like the guy. He goes, all right, I don't like this guy. So I go, why not? What's wrong with him? He's all right. He goes, he's always smiling and laughing. And I go, yeah. He didn't realize I was making fun. I was like, yeah, it's crazy, right? So he didn't like the guy because the guy presented a happy person. I guess where he's from, there's not a lot of reason to be happy. So they bring up, there's certain people in the eastern part of the world, Eastern Bloc countries, they're not interested in the next gold chain, the next iPhone. You know what I mean? They don't care about any of that. Like they want you dead because they need to make money for the family. You know what I mean?
Insane.
It's a different mentality. And a lot of these kids, even, I'll tell you a funny story real quick. Even in 1994, I was at Foxwoods Casino, and I was in charge of the American amateur team and the Cuban amateur team. They were fighting each other. So we went to pick up the Americans first on the bus. We picked them up at the airport. They get on the bus. And so we picked up the Cubans first. The Cubans get on the bus, and they were singing. And I'm talking about Savon was there, Ariel Hernandez was there, all these great fighters were there. And they get on the bus, they walk single file quietly to the seats. They sit down, they didn't say a word the entire trip back to the casino, right? Like 2 hours later, we go pick up the Americans. These guys get off the plane, they come on the bus, they're laughing and they're high-fiving each other and they're throwing stuff at each other, right? And I looked at the guy with me. I said, "We're gonna get killed."
Wow.
We're gonna get killed. And I remember the Americans. They lost 10 fights to 2. 10
And
bouts to 2.
it's funny.
As soon as we got on the bus, I saw it.
It's funny you mentioned that because I feel like it's translated to a lot of the big American fighters today. They don't even. I mean, let's be honest. Gervonta Davis, he's supposed to fight apparently Lamont Roach at 130, and I think a lot of people are upset about that. Like he's not fighting any of the champions. He's not unifying, and people still have him as a top pound for pound fighter. If Gervonta Davis would have retired today, would he be considered a Hall of Famer in your eyes?
No. And you know what? Because, I mean, probably in this era and the way they do things, probably. You know, but for me, the Hall of Fame has always been the elite of the elites. You know what I mean? You're talking Sugar Ray Robinson. You're talking Henry Armstrong, Joe Louis. You're talking Sugar Ray Leonard, Muhammad Ali. Again, I don't want to say any names, but there are guys in the Hall of Fame. Absolutely, positively, there's no way on earth they should be in the Hall of Fame. Zero. And by the same regard, Marlon Starling. I don't know if you remember Marlon Starling. He was welterweight champion twice. He's the first guy. He beat Mark Breland when Mark Breland was unbeatable. Knocked Mark out. He beat Lloyd Hunnigan after Lloyd Hunnigan beat Donald Curry. Marlon Starling fought better competition in 10-round fights, in non-title fights, than most champions do today. I could give you a list of 15 guys that Marlon Starling beat in his career that were undefeated, that were killers, that were contenders. Marlon Starling is not even on the ballot for the Hall of Fame. He's not on the ballot. Something is wrong.
Iceman, I'm gonna leave you with this because I know you have to leave. If Norbs wants to get in a quick word, after me, it's cool. But wish you best at Saudi Arabia. I don't know if have you been out there yet?
I have not. No.
Okay. So from what I hear, they're going to treat you like princes and kings. So good, good luck on that.
That's okay.
But if you could send a message to the prince for me, no more Eminem concerts. I love Eminem, but I want to get to the fight. I don't want to waste an hour watching Eminem.
Right. We're gonna have to deal with that.
I'll be tuned in. I'll be tuned into the pay-per-view though, and I wish you the best of luck. And I hope Beterbiev gets the stoppage. Yeah, Norbs, go ahead.
Oh man, hey John, I appreciate you coming on. Real talk. I definitely had to have you on because I really want to. Your historical perspective is insane. From the Hall of Fame, I really want to touch on that another time, stuff like that. But I definitely appreciate it. I wish you guys the best of luck. I'm not gonna lie, I'm 50-50 on the fight. So and I love Arthur. I love Arthur.
That's why it's a great fight because people are 50-50.
And yeah, I mean, on that note, man, I'll leave you. I appreciate you coming on, and good luck out there. Do your thing, brother.
I appreciate it, bud. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate
All right,
you,
guys.
John. All right,
yes, sir.
That was John Iceman Scully, Arthur Beterbiev versus Dimitri Bivol, coming soon. I think it's in October. I think it's October 14th. I'm excited for the fight. This is your boy Norbs, and this is a 10-8 podcast interview. We are out.